Welcome to being Sharon Gibson Show, BSG.
Hello, BSG Fighters. Welcome back to another episode. This is season 6, episode 19, featuring Donna Costello from the United Kingdom, a creative writing coach, social media executive, and an editor. As intended, I am going to transform your mind into a strong and positive mind. Before I dive into today's topic, I'd like all of you to check my videos on my TikTok and YouTube platform. Welcome, Donna. How are you doing?
Hi, great to be here. I am doing great. We're a bit cloudy, horrible weather in sunny Britain, I'd say. But doing great. How are you doing?
You know, today I had a reality check.
Oh, tell me more.
That in order for me to succeed, I have to put in the work. There isn't much luck. I wouldn't say that I'm not one to pray. I noticed I had to take my time because there's no shortcut. And I know that people encourage us to pray, but I don't want to say prayer is not what gives you results.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
It's as a result of, like, I had a reality check just today that it's on me to actually become who I want to be.
Yeah.
The whole of today, I've been very calm, knowing that it's literally on me to survive in this world.
Yeah, no, I know. It can be really liberating.
Yeah, it can be liberating. Yes.
But it can also be terrifying at the same time because it's all on you. But I kind of feel like there's a freedom with that because, like, that means you can actually accomplish your goals. You can set your own goals, you can accomplish them, and you can be whatever you want to be, so long as you have like a firm destination and a firm goal, and you make your own steps and take your own time, to get to the place you want to be.
That's so true. I just noticed that I can't live my life to chance.
Oh my God. It can be very jarring, but it can also be very like settling at the same time as well. It's like, okay, so I know what I have to do this now.
Exactly, that's how I feel. Thanks for saying that. So can you tell us more about yourself?
Of course, yeah. So I am a creative writing coach, I'm a book editor, and I'm a social media executive. When it comes to coaching, I help writers who are stuck on projects or new writers get their manuscript where it needs to be. I help them overcome creative challenges. And when it comes to social media, I help them market their book accordingly as well. So basically getting it out there, helping them to like advise them on self-publishing and how to use social media to the best of their advantage.
Amazing. And before we continue with the episode, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the session we had before coming to my show. Thank you so much. It really helped me.
No worries. It was great having the session with you. I always love meeting new people, and it was a joy to talk to you and discuss it. So no worries.
Thank you. Today's episode is titled The Guide to Creative Effectiveness. As usual, I will be sharing 2 top rules for success inspired by a highly successful person. Today's person is Mark Zuckerberg, popularly known as the founder of Facebook. Number 1, learn from people around you. And number 2, relentlessly execute. Always choose to do better. Always choose to innovate. So without further ado, let's dive into our topic of discussion. So my first question to you, Donna, is what does creative block mean?
Creative block is basically the sensational feeling of being stuck or unable to move forward with your current project or the creative process. So it can happen on existing projects when you've had your head into it too much, or it can happen on something new when you're starting to try something that you haven't done before, and the challenge can be the execution, like you're not sure how to do that or the plan to put in place. It can usually seem too overwhelming.
Yeah, a lot of creatives encounter this. I have encountered this a couple of times, and I feel like I'm really stuck. But then how does that affect our execution?
So it affects your self-confidence and your ability to move forward, because it leaves you feeling frustrated, and it gives you that kind of sensation of you're not in control, if that makes sense.
That's so true.
Like you feel completely out of control, you're not sure what to do, and it just gives you a sense of displacement more than anything. And that's the problem, is the displacement. You need to firmly take owners of it and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do and this is how we move forward.
Because imagine if your livelihood comes from what you do as a creative, and then you have this big project, you're supposed to create an advertising campaign for, let's say, a big fashion house, and now you have a creative block. What are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I get that 100%. What I always think outside of the box. Go back to like, initial inspirations, like think about what inspired you in the first place for certain other ideas you might have had. So go back to what's tried and tested. So me, I'm a visual learner or visual creative. So the kind of thing that would really like get me going is looking at like, say, pictures of, say, previous campaigns and stuff like that to kind of get my head back into game and to kind of see something that will inspire me and work from. I can work from kind of thing. But it really depends on what kind of person you are. Like if you're someone who's kinesthetic, you work better by doing. So maybe getting your hands inside a project and like you're doing something physical, like looking at the textures and stuff might be something you would do. If you're more of an audio person, like listening to music might be the thing that kickstarts you because the lyrics or the way a song or an instrument makes you feel kind of kickstarts it. But like I said, for me, I'm quite a visual person. So looking at images that maybe have looked at inspired previous things that I've worked on usually help me.
That's very insightful. So I find out that most creatives do procrastinate. So what do you think would be the cause?
So I think with procrastination, it can come from several places. Basically, you kind of get stuck. It's basically when you stop enjoying working on a project. So you've got a project you're working on currently and you get stuck, you start procrastinating because you don't enjoy it because you keep coming up against that barrier. Now, my recommendation for that is usually that you take a step back and leave it to breathe. And while you're focusing on another task, that's when your brain starts to take over. It's just because your brain is too stressed and too tired of dealing with that situation. If you're the type of person who's a bit more of a perfectionist, the problem might be is that as you're trying to do it, you want the perfect first draft, the perfect first painting, the perfect first whatever it is. And you've got to really acknowledge that that's not a reality. So I kind of liken, like, say, a first draft to something like you're starting to build a house. So your first draft, you throw everything on the page. It's going to be messy. It's going to be chaotic. It's not going to come out this perfect novel or masterpiece. And you need to reconcile with that and accept that that's a reality. And that's where a lot of people, like creatives, seem to fall down, is they think that when they start a project, it's going to be this amazing thing that they do straight from the get-go. And it's not. It's messy, chaotic. You've just got to get yourself in there and start doing it.
That's so true. I have never procrastinated as much as I have with the book I'm writing right now.
I know the feeling. I had a similar issue with a chapter I was on, and what I needed to do was just take a step back for a few days, and then when I came back to it, I just had to force myself through this one thing, and then once that was done, that was it. I was great. I was moving on, flying then.
I know, it can be hard. I feel like most creatives do not take their creative skill very seriously as they take corporate jobs. Like when I am working for somebody in the corporate space, I take it very serious. I am diligent. Whether I'm well or not, I try to show up at work. But I really do not get why people do not treat their creative skills with seriousness, just like they do with a corporate job.
Because when you're, as a society, we're sort of trained to view creativity as a hobby, if that makes sense.
That's so
and I
true.
think that is a massive factor. And people think it's a hobby or something you do outside of work, but then when you're tired, you don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? I would always recommend that you basically will book time in for yourself. Treat it like it is a job. Treat it like it's a task, basically, like in your everyday, say, corporate life, and book time out for it. So basically, an example is I book like an hour to write or work on my novel kind of thing, and that's basically that hour is like in the middle of my day, and I will work on that no matter what's going on, what other work I have, because once I've done that, it's off my plate. Then it's a sense of achievement, and then you've made that progress. And I think the important thing is building that habit of getting into it and doing it. You don't have to do it every day. So I do mine 5 days a week and take a break at the weekends to kind of like recalibrate. But like by doing that, you're treating it like a job, if that makes sense.
Yes,
or like a job. So I always say set a goal. So it doesn't have to be an hour. It can be like a word count. You're going to do 1,000 words during this time in the day, or you're going to do like 10 pages, or you're going to like set an hour to do this. Whatever works best for you, or set a time, and then at that time physically sit down and do the work on it. And that's how you sort of train yourself into thinking of it with seriousness that it deserves, basically.
Yeah, you're right. I do agree with you, because I do the same thing. Like I have the BSG work timetable from Monday to Friday, and then I wake up almost every single day at 7 a.m. and I kid you not, I do my exercise and I get to work. I'll do something either for social media. I check my social media account, then I'll look at emails, I'll respond what I have to do. But yeah, I think I need to take that break, because I do it from like Mondays to Saturdays, even though
and it's that mental break. Like for me, because I work like on a Monday to Friday kind of basis, it works for me because the weekend's off. That's literally just fits like streamlines into that. So it's really whatever works for you in that respect. Because if you work say Monday to Saturday, that might work best for you, but I just take that time because like 2 days is a kind of a good break for me to forget about it and come back with fresh eyes.
That's beautiful. I think I'm gonna implement that.
Definitely think about it.
Yeah, I will.
Are you ready for the comfort break question? Comfort break question.
What is your favorite social media application and why?
So yeah, it's Instagram, and it's Instagram because I'm part of like sort of like a bit of a bookstagram community. People who love books, the same kind of books that I do, and other books as well. Literally, I love it because there's so much like diversity on there.
Yeah.
And so much interesting stuff. But the posts are all really different as well. So you're not getting the same thing like currently reading. You're getting people like, oh, I'm looking at this, oh, I'm looking at this, or there's like the creativity and the ingenuity of it all really captivate me, and the connectivity as well. I'm always looking for a good book recommend, and if you've got people who are like minded on there, you'll get like the next book recommend on there, because I am like a massive reader. Like I literally devour books. So literally Instagram works for me because there's all sorts of people on there who are reading all sorts of different things. So I get all sorts of inspiration on what to read next.
That's so cool. Have you read Tell Me Your Dreams by Sydney Sheldon?
I have not. It's come up a few times, but I haven't actually read it.
Baby girl, when you read that book, you'll be in a different world. You could even read it in a day. It's so addictive.
I'm literally like putting it into my computer now.
You know, like it's very imaginative with each word, each sentence, to the point where you might get into the book and it feels like you are literally living what's happening. You're literally the girl that is going through all that life and multiple personality disorders and all that. You should try reading it.
I've just literally added it while we were talking to my TBR list.
I promise you thank me. You will thank me later. I like TikTok. I watch a lot of TikTok videos. They make me laugh. I love the content on the platform now. I hope they don't change because a lot of people are vulnerable on there. When you go on there, you just see people's lives.
You feel like you're getting sort of real insight. I watched a cool video the other day that was literally encompassed sisterhood. Like there was like 3 sisters, and one of the little girls had cut the other one's fringe. The other girl was doing like a TikTok video, and they didn't want their mum to know, so they were trying to keep the mum out the room while they were trying to fix this fringe. And it was absolutely awful. And at the end, they fixed it so perfectly, it literally looked amazing. It's just like this slice of life into like little, having like a little sister. It was insane.
Like you see the reality of life on TikTok. That's one of the things I like. I laugh a lot, at the same time I learn a lot. Okay, so now back to our questions. As a creative writing coach, what are some challenges writers face?
Some of the main challenge or common issues that I've worked with are people who get stuck on a project, or people don't know how to ignite creativity because they've not been brought up in a sort of creative atmosphere, and you kind of get a sense of listlessness and of frustration, and they get a bit downtrodden you because of it. So with being stuck, we discussed it before, like I think it's all about giving yourself permission to take a break, because when you're doing a project, you get so inside that project that you need to do that project that you can't see the wood for the trees. So giving yourself permission to take a break is the most important thing, because I know you get like, so I don't know about you, but I get, if I'm trying to like work on a project that's not working for me, I think I should be working on it, I get guilt if I'm not doing it, and then I get stressed because I feel guilty about not doing the thing. So basically it's allowing yourself or giving yourself that permission to go, okay, I need to take a 2-day break or another break to work on this project, a different project. So when you start working on different projects, it sort of knocks a few things loose, and you can come back with fresh eyes then, and it gives you that idea or that spark, and you know what to do. So that's one of the issues I always face with people struggling with creativity. I always try and give them writing prompts, because usually the problem is that they don't know how to draw sort of like inspiration from like the stuff around them, because they just haven't been taught that way. So basically I give them writing prompts, like 3 things in a room with you, pick the 3 most different ones, now write for like 5 to 10 minutes about, put these 3 prompts into like something, write about, maybe you found them in a drawer, write a kind of like sinister element to it. Were these 3 things left in a will? Were they found in a drawer? Did someone leave a letter and they've given you these 3 things? What did it say? So it gives a different scenario to the person for them to work through. Another thing I do for me personally that works is song lyrics. So if I've been listening to a song, I look up a song lyric and then write a scene around one lyric from the song. It can give you like a lot of inspiration. There's a story I used from like a lyric by Elton John that was called Cold Heart, and the lyric is, I'm not the man they think I am at home. And the kind of story I wrote around that was about this guy from the Navy who everybody thought he was like a proper prim, strict person, and with basically a stick up his ass. And then the whole thing is, when his wife comes home from deployment, he is a completely different person. He's warm, he's loving and caring, and that's the facade that he created so he could handle with her being away for 6 months, kind of thing. That just came from one lyric by Elton John that I'd been listening to at the time. So it's that kind of thing, is like, where do you draw your creativity from? So like for me, it was a lyric. For other people, it's a writing exercise or writing prompt. That's how you ignite your creativity. Otherwise, that's how it works.
Wow, that's nice. One of my fears is the fact that like if I stop working on the project, or I take my mind off it, I would have no more interest in doing it. Honestly speaking, that's one of my fears. And then I don't do it, and I end up living with the guilt, and I'm not doing it, and I'm so scared to just get my
And
mind
with stuff
off
like
it.
that, I'd give yourself. So what I would do is, this is part of the permission thing. So I had this exact thing when I was about to start my business, kind of thing. I had this guilt about it, and what I would suggest is give yourself a time. So basically, my kind of guilt was around at the time. I wanted to start the business, but I also was looking for jobs. So I had to give myself permission to stop looking for jobs and to work on this business to see if it would work. This creative editing and writing coaching business, and I basically said to myself, I'm going to give myself a month working on this business, seeing if I can make it work, seeing where I get to, and in a month I'll reevaluate and go, okay, this is going to work, or this isn't, and go back to job hunting. And I gave myself that month, that time frame, and it worked. And now I'm like booked up till January. I've got clients, like I coach clients constantly, and that's because I gave myself permission and set myself a time limit. And I think when you're working on a creative project, if you need to take that break and you have that fear, give yourself a time limit. So it doesn't have to be a month, it can be like a few days, it can be like 2 weeks. Just give yourself that time limit and know that in like 2 weeks time you're going to come back to it. Now if you come back to it beforehand, absolutely great, kind of thing, but after that 2 weeks you come back to it, and then you can reevaluate, is this a project I want to work on, or is this a project I'm making myself work on? And the thing is, if you don't enjoy working on it, you won't get the best authentic sense of the project. It won't be something that comes alive. Basically, it'll just be something flat.
Wow. I'm inspired. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm inspired because I have a lot to say right now. I'll prefer to execute it than to say it.
Thank you.
Could you give us some suggestions on how to be more effective as creatives?
Yeah, so I would definitely say make the time for it, build a habit, like I said before. Make sure you make the time for it. And I would definitely say on a daily basis. But if you've got commitments, like you have family commitments, or you have like work commitments, or you have caring commitments, just even carve yourself a tiny bit of space. It doesn't have to be an hour, it can be 15 minutes or 10 minutes where you either, so for me at the time when I was doing my master's degree, it was the 10 minutes that I would sit on the bus going to work would be the 10 minutes that I wrote for myself, because that was literally the only time I got. And that was like the 10 minutes that sort of refreshed me and refilled my creative cup, as it were. And that helped me to be creative. So basically every time I got on a bus, then I built that habit that that's what I would do. And that really helped me keep my own writing going while I was working on a master's and while I was like working as well at the same time. And what I would also say is practice as much as you can, and don't be scared of practice. Like everything is messy, but when you're doing a creative project, it really is about learning new ways to do things. And don't be afraid if something fails, because it's not a failure, it's a lesson. So basically that you learn from that mistake or that failure, and you'll know not to do that, or you'll know to do it better because you've tried it a certain way. Never think of it as failure, just think of it as a learning curve. And then also, it's especially with creative projects, it's very important to try and build a community around you, because creative projects can be quite lonely, especially if you're doing them on your own. And it's helpful being around people who've had different experiences, because they'll be able to help you in certain areas that you may not have A, considered, or B, have any knowledge in. So it's always good to like sort of like try and like network and have contacts and stuff like that. So you can ask questions. And I would say ask questions, be polite, like don't be afraid to ask questions. The whole point to living, I think, is learning. So basically, don't be afraid to ask questions. What's the worst they can say? No, I won't answer that question. Oh no, what do you do? Try and ask questions and learn the best you can about everything that you can at the time, because that knowledge and that experience is what is going to help you in the future.
I couldn't agree anymore. That's spot on. The reason why I feel like I'm moving slow in accomplishing the things I want to accomplish is because I'm learning a lot on my journey. Day in, day out, I am taking like a course to learn about what I'm doing and how to improve, how to be better. So that's what makes it feel like I'm taking a long time to achieve the things that I want to achieve. And it can get really, really frustrating. But I just encourage myself that it is worth it, because once I'm able to build a solid foundation for the things I do, it will be easier for me to just keep sailing, because you don't want to go up and then just come down. You want to keep floating and keep advancing and progressing. So that's one of the things that I told myself to just, be patient with myself in my creative journey and any projects that I'm working on, and try to prioritize each project, you said, because sometimes as a creative person, I don't know if it happens to all creatives, but you can have racing thoughts on doing this and doing that. And I'm like, okay, I have to take my time to do what's most important. And at the same time, I try as much as possible to also be business minded, serve my target audience, look forward to the future, be futuristic, because some of the projects are not going to end now, they're going to end in the future. So it's just like putting all that together can take a toll on me. But at the same time, I try to be efficient in the things I do. And each time I am doing something at any given time, I try my possible best to put all my attention and concentrate on what I'm doing at that time.
Yeah, agree with you on the racing thoughts thing. So basically, when I get overwhelmed, I do that. So what I usually do is write things down or put them onto I have a few programs on my computer that help. I put them onto there because it's basically seeing them. It's easier for me to prioritize. Like I said, because I'm quite a visual person. So putting them into say Trello or Asana and then prioritizing them by color, it really helps me work out okay, so this is what I need to do next. Oh, maybe I don't need to worry about this thought yet because it's 2 weeks in the future. So I don't really need to do anything to that until I get closer to the time. So writing them down or putting them in somewhere I can visualize, see them quite clearly is very helpful for me in that respect.
Yeah. So before you leave, can you share any life lesson you live by?
Yeah. So one is, so I asked myself, what's the worst that can happen and can I live with it? So that sounds really dark, actually, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's not. Like, I do the same thing.
It sounds like a true crime thing in a way, doesn't it? But it's not. I promise you, it's not. So basically, if I found threatened about, say, submitting a piece of work, asking for advice, reaching out to someone to ask a question, because I know that's an issue a lot of people have, is reaching out to other people. I basically just think, what is the worst that can happen if I'm, say, submitting a piece of work? The worst that can happen is they'll say no. So, okay, maybe it wasn't for them at that time. So let's send it to someone else it might be, if that makes sense. So the way I kind of see things is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So why not take some shots to get yourself out there?
And people should know that even with that being said, certain people can still be nasty. You would definitely experience certain things that you didn't even expect you would experience, but you have to keep pushing through because the last but one episode of the season.
Yeah.
And before season 6 started, I was struggling to get guests. It got to a point I was like, am I even going to complete the season? Am I going to be able to do it every single week?
I've mentioned it to two or three people and they've all been like, that sounds amazing. Like I know loads of people who'd want to do it. So you ever get stuck for guests, give me a shout.
Yeah, I will do that. But when I did the first 3 episodes, it was crazy. Every season I create episodes that are undone because people would just bitch on me and all that.
Oh yeah.
But it was just hard. I was like, is this even worth doing? Then I sent out emails. I got a lot of rejections, right? But I still found a way to do it every week with good guests. And then one time I sent out emails thinking that, as usual, just 2 people are going to answer.
Yeah.
And I had about 10 people. I was like, no way.
No, I have too many of you. It's the opposite problem.
I was like, I wasn't expecting this.
Honestly, I would just say persistence is the way to go. So when I was the same as you, when I started my business, I was sending out little LinkedIn messages to people and I wasn't getting much back. And so the first few weeks I was like, oh, this is not going to go well at all. And then literally in 1 week, I think I got about 5 people who were like, yeah, could you edit this? Or I'd like to take you on writing coaching. And suddenly my diary was full and I was like, oh, this came back to bite me.
Exactly.
But it's that persistence, even on your bad days where you do get people who are nasty to you or people who just don't respond. On those bad days, you just got to think, well, something better. There's got to be something better around the corner. And usually there is. You just have to weather the bad days.
That's so true. That's why today's reality check just really hit me. Like, Sharon, you've got to do this. You just have to set your mind on, okay, what do I want? And know that, but the process in getting what you want isn't going to pan out exactly the way it is in your head. So
it never does,
It never does. Always what you said, always ask yourself that question. What's the worst that can happen? And even if the worst happens, even if the person says no to me or the person is mean to me, that doesn't do anything because if I push through and I succeed and the person sees it, it's on them, not on me.
100%. You know what I mean? There's so many people in this world that want to drag you down or just are just battered by life. That they don't like seeing someone succeed. And that's partially it. It's that you've got the balls to move forward and do the thing that they haven't to do. And I think that's got to be something you take into consideration is that you're that person who's pushing through and they're not.
Wow, Donna, that's some gem.
Laying out there.
That's some gem. But I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much. This is a very insightful episode. Wonderful, phenomenal episode. Everything you said was well received by me and the listeners. Thank you so much. So we've come to the end of the episode. Before we leave, I'll be going over the top rules inspired by Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. Learn from people around you. Always seek to learn because as Donna said, we live to learn and relent relentlessly execute. Like, keep pushing through and make sure that what you did yesterday is always better than what you're doing today, and push through. Life, you've got to work hard. I'm sorry to break the news. You can work smart, but you have to push through barriers no matter what and keep fighting for the life that you want. Thank you so much for listening, BSG Fighters. Kindly leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed this episode. I love you as much as you love yourself. Until the next episode. Bye.
You have got a strong